Welcome to Motherhood. I'm Dr. Christina Hibbert, and I'm here to help you overcome, to become, and to flourish in this crazy experience we call motherhood. And today, we are going to talk about some of the craziest of all experiences, which are moms who, like myself, are raising many children. Not just one, not just two, but several children. And we're going to here's some of the wisdom that all of these moms have together. And today's show is a little bit different than normal because usually it's just me and one guest. And today it will be myself and four guests. And this is more like a panel than an actual just, one-on-one dialogue. But we're going to have a good time. So I hope you'll stick around because what I really wanted to do today is help all of you moms listening to get to share in some of this wonderful wisdom from all of these wonderful mothers that I'm privileged to get to know and that are part of my tribe, because as we talk about here on Motherhood each week, that our goal of the show is to grow through motherhood together. And we do that each week together here on the show. So that's why I thought it'd be great to invite some of my favorite moms who have all kinds of wonderful things to share about how to be a better parent, how to be a better mom, and some of their best secrets in order to help all of you out there. So whether you have a tiny baby or you have grown children or you're a grandmother, this show is for you. So I hope you'll stick around. And before we get started in introducing our guests, I just want to thank you again for joining us each week as you come back on Motherhood Radio, and for being part of our community. And I hope you've joined us on social media, on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest or YouTube channel, where you can find videos of the shows, including today's. And also on our Facebook group, which is called Growing Through Motherhood. So hopefully you can go and ask to be added to that group if you haven't already, and you can join up with us. It's like a community that we're trying to grow where we can support one another and be real as moms, like we're going to do today. Also, I hope you'll visit my website at drchristinahibbert.com for all kinds of resources to help you as a mom, to help you grow through motherhood in all sorts of different ways, including a lot of the things we'll be talking about today. Now, to introduce the show, I thought instead of me talking about something like I normally do, I'm going to share a brief story about each of my guests today. And then I'm going to introduce them officially and have them start talking because they're actually sitting here listening to me while I'm saying all of this. And I told them to be quiet, so they're being quiet, which is nice. So I get to talk about them without any interference right now. Okay, now they're laughing, but that's okay. Anyway, so first of all, as many of you know, I became a mom of many sort of by chance. I didn't plan on it. It's not what I thought it was going to happen. I grew up as the oldest of six, and I used to say, I will never have 6 kids, Mom. I don't know why you had so many kids, because I always had to babysit, and I thought it was way too stressful. So again, as I've said before, never say never. But when I suddenly had my 4th baby, and we inherited our 2 nephews, as many of you know, which I wrote about in This Is How We Grow, I suddenly found myself in this group of fine women and men, of course, too, but as far as moms go, who did actually choose to grow a big family, unlike myself. And I guess we all chose in one way or another. But I remember feeling really overwhelmed and really inadequate. Because to me, like a mom who had 6 or 7 kids or 8 or whatever was just like, holy cow, they're like a saint, because I could never do that. And anyway, one of the first people who really helped me was my friend Nancy McGuire. She's going to be joining us in a second here. Because Nancy was one of the first people to tell me, I'm so sorry that you have 6 kids. It is so hard. And they're laughing because they know it's true. And I really appreciated that, because I felt like a lot of other people just thought, well, you know what, there's a lot of moms who have a lot of kids and it's not a big deal. That's how I felt anyway. I just felt like I was so inadequate, and I felt like it shouldn't have been a big deal because it didn't seem like it was to a lot of the other moms. So Nancy was the one. She actually brought me parenting books, and she was helping me give me strategies right away. And she even took the kids on a snow day. She took them sledding. So That's one thing I love about Nancy. She is a mom of 6 herself and a grandmother of 5 or 6?
Yes.
6 now.
Oh
my goodness.
Right
okay.
before Christmas.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Exciting. Okay. So that's Nancy. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about Becky. Really, I probably should have started with Becky because I've known Becky the longest. Becky and I grew up together and went to high school together and went to some of college together. And Becky also, we reconnected a few years back. And one thing that I love is Becky is a mom of 6 as well. And she just is such a good example to me of truly being a joyful mother and really just being creative and having fun with her kids and getting in there and doing all kinds of, just interesting and fun activities with them. She's a really hands-on mom, and she really works at it. But I always have her in my mind when I'm trying to remember, don't yell at my kids and try to be happy and try to be kinder, because Becky just kind of naturally is like this. And she actually has been on one of the episodes. So if you want to check it out, Becky was my guest for our Finding Joy in Motherhood episode, and she did great on that. So I wanted her to come back. So it's been really fun because, we knew each other when we were young, and now we're raising our kids together as well. Then I have Jen here. Jen is a friend of mine who has 8 children. She sort of had, adopted sort of, a friend of the family's and been raising him as well over the years. And she also has 1 grandchild and 1 on the way.
Just one.
Just one.
Okay,
just one. Sorry. 1 grandchild. And, she has some children still in the home, some out of the home. So kind of a nice mix. And the thing I remember about Jen, the thing I always think about with Jen is that she's always the friend who's telling me, like, just let it go. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. She's just such a good example of letting things roll off her back. So I remember going to her house to visit after her daughter had backed into her and broken her femur. And Jen being cooped up and in a big old cast and having had surgeries. And yet there she is just, trying to be as positive as possible and just like, well, whatever, we're going to just make this work and make it happen. And a lot of other things were going on in her life at that time, I remember. And I just have always appreciated how she just kind of, we all need that permission sometimes to just let go and not have to be doing everything all the time and, to accept where we are and what's going on. And she's always been a really great example to me for that. And then Stacy, finally, last but not least, Stacy is a friend of mine who has 7 children, and she and I, our kids are really close in age, and they are friends and growing up together. And so Stacy and I, it seems like Stacy's the one that I commiserate with the most. Like, we see each other and it's like, how are you doing? Oh, how are you doing? I'm hanging in there. It's like we get each other. So I really love that about Stacy. One thing that I really remember about her is that Stacy has an adopted daughter. And we, of course, adopted our 2 sons. And so it's just been it was such a joy getting to, just have somebody that was going through that same experience and getting to talk about that and have that kind of support in such a different way from Stacy, as well as the day-to-day, just, hey, I get it. It's crazy. We're all in this together. So that's why I wanted everybody to be here, so we could really feel this idea of we're all in this together. Because truly, whether you have, 1 or many kids, there's a lot to be learned from these wonderful women here. So, welcome to the show, everybody. Nancy, Becky, Stacy, Jen. You can say something now.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for having us.
It's a pleasure. I'm so glad you guys are here. So we are going to jump right in, and because we have a lot to cover. We have a lot of great things that you guys are going to share, some of your best tips and wisdom with us. So first of all, I wanted to start off with this idea of being a successful mother. And I think that when you are a mom of many, you might have different ideas about what that means, and you might have changed your ideas over the years of what success means in motherhood. So I'm going to kind of go through and ask each of you what you think success means to you, and I guess I want to know also, has your definition of success changed over the years? So Nancy, I'm going to start with you. What does it mean to you to be successful in motherhood? What would that look like for you?
That they know how to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
By the time they leave home, they know how to feed themselves, clean up after themselves. They know how to make decisions. Mm-hmm. That's the short end of it.
That's pretty good. I like that. So they can be self-sufficient, take care of themselves. They have the life skills.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Becky, what do you say?
All right. Well, I totally agree with Nancy in many ways. Of course, you want your kids to be able to be strong, confident, self-sufficient, and be able to do many different tasks. I also feel like as a mom, I want to be playing to my strengths and not worrying too much about the things that I'm not as good at. And a successful mom, I want my children to learn how to be happy together.
I love that. So focus on siblings, because when you have a lot of siblings, I mean, that's another important element of parenting as well. When you have more than one child, making sure they're getting along, right?
Relationships. I see myself as a relationship manager in a lot of ways.
I love that. So you're managing relationships, you're focusing on the relationships, focusing on life skills, which is also the element of being a teacher as a mother, which I think is our primary role, essentially, no matter how many children you have, right?
Absolutely.
In many ways. Okay, great. Awesome. Jen, what do you say? How do you define success in motherhood, and has it changed over the years for you?
Yes. Yeah. At first, I thought success meant all their teachers loved them. They had lots of friends, endless fun. I don't know, that we would always be smiling, and so a lot on measurable things, report cards maybe, or something. Now, if I figure I've been successful if they will kiss me in public. I do. That means that they have a relationship with me, so I guess it's become more relationship based. Yeah. And that they have a relationship with me that they are, I don't want to say proud of, but my mother-in-law, my husband kissed his mother up until his senior year in high school. I don't care where we were. If she came on the scene, he would always go up and give her a sweet kiss. And I just thought that was the neatest thing. And I've seen that now with my own kids. I know that I have been successful when they will kiss me in public.
I love that.
I want all of them to be comfortable with that. That's good for me.
That's good. Okay, I'm gonna try that. I'll try that with my boys. We'll see how that goes. Some maybe yes, some maybe no. Okay, Stacey, what do you say? How do you define
Jen and
success?
I relate well. She gave my exact answer.
Oh, really?
She did. Seriously, I used to think that success as a mother was measured on my children's behavior. Yeah. And now I see that it's completely based on the relationship that I have with each one of them individually.
That's so good. I love it. So you guys, I'm so with you on this, because I do feel like so many parents, and you guys, I feel like you guys are all well ahead of the game, because so many parents, even a lot of parents that are, beyond us in years, still identify success with how their children behave, or what they do or what they don't do, or what kind of job they get, or where they end up, or whatever, what choices they make. And you're right, it's so hard to, we can't do that, because when we do that, we have no control ultimately, right? If that's one thing that we've all probably learned as our kids have gotten older, yes, is that we really don't have control, especially once they get to a certain point. And so you guys are all talking about things that are in our control, right? Like relationships, like building relationships and teaching skills. What do you think?
Relationships, I think, far outweigh anything.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Almost anything that I can say. Mm-hmm. So,
I love that. Any other thoughts? You guys agree with that?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so let's talk about, first of all, let me ask this. This wasn't on my list, but do you guys, how do people respond when they find out how many kids you have?
Oh, I have a funny story.
Okay, good.
But this is when I lived in New Jersey, and I only had 4, and I was crossing a parking lot with, 2 4-year-olds, a 3-year-old, and a baby. And a man across the parking lot, who wasn't even close to me, called out, "Hey, lady, you got enough kids?"
Oh, are you kidding? Jeez.
True story.
Did you reply?
So
did you say anything
sometimes
back?
is even huge, depending on your culture.
Yeah.
But yeah. But I learned to say things like, when people's jaws would hit the floor, that I had these 4 little kids at the time, because I'm thinking, this is not big. This is the end of small. But you learn to say, I'm living my dream. This is what I always wanted to do.
I love it.
And I was trying to convince myself as well, but yeah.
I'm living the dream. I'm living the dream.
Oh, I love it. Hey, whatever works, right?
Is this story time? I have a funny story too.
Yeah, please.
We had a big van that seats 12. And we moved into a new home. And without even meeting our neighbors, we got a nasty, mean, anonymous letter in our mailbox. And basically said, the neighborhood was very quiet and calm until you moved in. Thanks for moving in. Because it was all second homes or nobody there. It was very quiet. And that that they understood that we were running an unlicensed group home. What? Because they assumed that many kids piling out of a van was a group home that we were running and not my own family. So that's always a funny story that we bring up about our unlicensed group home family.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's an extreme story, yeah. Yeah, so do you guys all kind of get the same? I mean, this is kind of what I was getting at. I feel like, I know I always get, like,
are these all your kids?
Yeah, are these all your
Definitely.
kids? Have you ever heard of birth control?
I like to say they're all that I know of. These are the ones I know about. Just to be silly.
That's awesome. I love that. That's good. Yeah, and then my favorite is always, what are you? No, yeah, or what? Are you Mormon or Catholic or something?
Yes.
Or like, actually, yes, I'm Mormon. So that is a secret. Yes, I'm Mormon. Actually, we all are. So there you go. We're all Mormon moms of many. But anyway, so it does provide a built-in community of other moms who can be in similar situation, and that's what we're here today for. So okay, so that I just had to ask that because I do think that, I don't know, like, gosh, your story, Jen, is so awful. Like,
Oh, but it's funny. It's
funny now.
hilarious.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm glad that we have some fun, energetic children there. I mean,
Yeah, I
nothing
know.
too obnoxious.
Exactly.
Anyway, just,
You can't let it get to you.
we don't let it get to us
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
We thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, that's good.
We're like, group home my foot. I can say
At
that.
least we get paid, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about this. So we're talking about, obviously this is one little blip in having a big family, is that a lot of people don't understand, or they give you these confused looks or whatever. So what would you say is one of the biggest challenges for each of you of having a large family? I think it's funny because I kind of asked you all this before, and pretty much everybody's answer was a little bit of a different take on the same main theme. So I want to see what you say now, but I think there's one main answer. Nancy, what do you say? You look like you're ready to talk.
I don't know.
One of the biggest
Biggest challenge, just having time to listen to all of them and to make them feel like I am tuned in to what's going on with them right now.
Yeah. That's a biggie. Because when you have only one or two children, you might be able to give them, split the time, or even 3. I went from 3 to 6, and it felt like just such a huge shift. I mean, 3 was a lot because you say, you're outnumbered, right? But then to go to 6, it's like, holy cow, the needs never stop. It's just one on top of the other on top of the other. And that's even if everybody's like doing okay. But then when you got one that's having a really hard time, or 2 that are really having a hard time, it's hard to give them that time and attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, emotionally especially. Becky, what do you say?
Well, I would totally agree. Like, my first thought was there's just not quite enough of me to go around.
Uh-huh.
And that idea that I don't have the time to go deep into each child. I have a lot of children, and I have to consciously make time to go deep and to get one-on-one time with each child.
Yeah.
We do after-school dates with who I think needs it the most that week on Fridays after school.
Oh, that's a great tip.
Yeah.
Because you're right. It's a challenge. I think it's a challenge for any parent to feel like, you can really give them as much time, especially with all the other things going on in our lives. But I love that. You have to make a conscious effort to focus in and see their needs and make sure that you're giving them special time when they need it.
Right.
Yeah. What do you say, Stacey?
Sometimes it's challenging when you have one child that needs a lot of time, because then you start feeling guilty about all the other children who are making really good choices, and you're kind of neglecting them because they're not so needy at that time. So it's just balance.
Yeah, balance.
Definitely time.
Because the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and then
for sure.
the non-squeaky wheels or getting no grease. I think that's hard too. I do. So yeah, balance. We talk a lot about that on the show. We'll have to ask in a minute about that. Like, how do we do that? That's another whole question. What do you say, Jen? What's one of the biggest challenges?
There's too many challenges to think about.
Too many.
Yeah, just for me is remembering everything they're supposed to be doing. That sounds really dumb, but it's true. Like checking on homework, and I think that's hard.
Yeah, keeping up on everything.
With my issues, yeah.
Scheduling.
Yeah, just scheduling and remembering to schedule and remembering. I have a remembering problem, I think. I think it's a challenge for me.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot to remember.
So I write things on my hand, I write things on scrap piece of paper, but then I can't find the scrap piece of paper, so I have a challenge of that.
Yeah.
Trying to...
Do you guys ever count in your head your kids all the time?
Yes.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
I feel like I'm lifeguarding. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3.
I know. And now that my oldest is gone at college, my second oldest came home from college, and the other night I was counting. I was like, wait a minute, someone's missing. I'm like, oh no, wait, one's at college. Okay. But yeah, so that's another tip for anybody. When you have a large family, you just keep counting, constantly counting, making sure you have them all. But don't do like Home Alone and accidentally count the neighbor's head, because that wouldn't count, right? Okay. Anyway, so those are some of the challenges. There are obviously some more challenges, right? Anybody want to add anything else that you didn't mention already?
Putting your husband in there.
Ooh, yes.
I mean, not in the realm of he's another child to take care of, but your kids obviously need more help than he does, and many times he feels at the end of the list, and that doesn't ever end well. No, it's just he's not happy, I'm not happy, and when we push for that time together, then the whole mood of the house is better.
Yes. That's great advice, Nancy. For anybody. I mean, anybody. I think it's, even if you just have one baby or one little child or one child, it's easy to give all your time and attention to your children and neglect your relationship with your partner or spouse, your husband. So, yeah, I think that's really important. The other thing that you mentioned earlier, Becky, when we were talking, was about, like Jen's talking about, like having to say no. I mean, I think that's a biggie for me too. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, but your kids can't do everything. Like if you had 1 or 2 kids, maybe they could do more activities or be involved in more, and we can't do everything. Like you can't volunteer for everything, right?
Right. And you can't compare yourself to women who do have only 2 children and their kids can travel with the soccer team and the club or whatever. And I've decided, even though my child made club, that we didn't have the time as a family for him to be that far away and put that as a priority. So that's just a choice I made when I had this many kids, that we kind of have a family mentality more than an individual mentality. It's the only way to survive, but it still works.
Yeah.
It still works, and the kids do still get to do after school activities. It's just they don't have 3 after school activities each, because that's totally impossible for a family with this many kids.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought of something.
Yeah, sure.
I haven't done this recently, but with regards to not feeling like you can spread yourself out enough for everyone, or you spread kind of thin, is I read an idea, and it really was nice to actually sit down with each child. So we have the group mentality too. I mean, we're like a family mentality.
Yes.
And to actually say what 3 things are most important for you, for me to do for you, instead of us thinking, oh, we need to be here and here and here. Exactly. To ask them. Some of the stuff that they thought were important was not a big deal to me, and it was so easy to do. And so really, if you get inside each of your children and just say, what are the top 3 things that you want me to do for you? Generally, like, do you like me to kiss you before bed? Do you want me to snuggle by you before? Some kids really want that, some don't. But I felt like I had to with everyone. Some didn't want me to. Mm-hmm. And I thought just some of those little time savers, some of those things actually allowed a lot more time with each child, because then you got to hone in on the 3 things that they really cared about. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's a sport or a lesson or whatever. But I love that, because then I thought it seemed more doable then. and you were really hitting what was really important to them instead of doing all these nice things, and they don't really care because that's not really what they want.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great tip. I love that. I think you taught me that for Christmas too, is to ask them
okay, so
what their favorite traditions are, or what matters most to them for Christmas, so you can let go of the rest and just focus on what they need, right?
Yes.
That's great. That's great advice. Yeah, absolutely. And it does. You know, I think, again, this is good advice for all mothers, all fathers, is to, let the kids tell you what they want and need versus, I mean, I'm sure you guys all feel this way too, but how many times are we doing something and then we realize, like Jen just said, like, we're really doing this because we think we should, or because it makes us look good, or because so-and-so down the street did it and we feel guilty if we don't, or whatever. But we can let that go when we are just focusing on what the kids want instead of what we think we need to do. Right?
Yes, I love this idea. I'm going to try this. It's like learning to speak their love language.
Yes.
That's probably when I did it, as I read that book. Yes. I love that book.
That's a great book.
That's probably when I did it.
That's great.
Serious. I love that.
Yeah, and for those of you listening who don't know about the love languages, you can go check that out. That's a wonderful book, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And just to briefly say, the love languages are spending time with your child, or physical touch, children who like a back rub, or, like a foot rub, gifts, just think of me and bring me something home when you're out. That's all I care about. Acts of service, so doing something kind for them, doing their chore for them or something might mean a lot to them. And what's the last one?
Compliments.
Verbal affirmations. That's right. So telling the child a lot of praise and feedback verbally. So that's really important. I'm glad you guys brought that up. What's that?
I have a great story about that.
Yeah, please go for it.
There was a time when I had to be out of town a lot. Maybe I think one of our daughters was engaged, and I had to leave the younger ones home. Lots of quick trips away, and I had a son. I was just worried about leaving him a lot, but I needed to go again for a couple of days. And I said, Rick, I gotta go see Lindsay for a couple of days. What's that going to cost me? And he says, box of corn dogs.
Oh,
So here I am worrying about his emotional stability, and he just needs a box of corn dogs. I could go for days.
wow! I should ask my kids that. That's pretty good. It's true, though. We all know this. Everybody listening knows this as a mom. When you have more than one child, you start to see their different personalities and their different needs, and how you have the one child who just can't live without you, and when you leave, it's like devastating to them, and then the other ones that, wait, you were gone for 4 days? I didn't even notice, So, yeah. So that's great. These are great advice. So let's just briefly touch on this idea of, first of all, before I move on to that, there are obviously some strengths. So I want each of you or advantages, I would say, some advantages to having a large family. I think there's some wonderful things about having a large family. So if each of you could say, what's one or two things that you think are one of the best things about having many children for you? Stacey, what do you say? We'll start with you.
I think it's a lot of fun. We can do a lot of fun things together, lots of fun activities. Mm-hmm. There's never a dull moment.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
I love having lots of kids.
Mm-hmm. Jen?
Usually when we go places, we have the place to ourselves because everybody clears out. Or no matter where you go, everybody clears the road. I feel like.
Because it's a group home.
You just get places all to yourself.
Nice.
And oh my goodness, all these people we're leaving.
Well, and it is like built-in entertainment, right?
Yeah.
You always have something going on. There's always something to do, like you say. It keeps you entertained.
And on the serious side, maybe, I feel like with so many different personalities and perspectives that your siblings, the kids, can bounce off each other and usually get some help from someone. I mean, there's enough people on board that they can relate to or suggest something to be helpful to someone in that group, in that meld of people. So I feel like they get a lot of internal help and support and friendship through all these people.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like our kids are a little bit older, but now that most of them are adults, they are fantastic resources for each other. Yeah. When someone is trying to do something hard, they really tap into each other's strengths. And that's really sweet to see.
And that's another version of success, isn't it?
How they like each other and depend on each other, I think is That's a great measure for me.
I love that. What do you say, Becky?
Oh, all of these things. It's super fun. You feel like you're on a team. You have each other to help each other. The older kids can help the younger kids when you're like working with a baby or something, as far as like homework or reading books or even tucking them into bed, brushing teeth. But also, I just feel like I'm giving my children the gift of lifelong siblings. Like they will have that team their whole lives. When I'm dead and gone, they'll have each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can get your house clean really fast.
That's right. Well, in theory,
Or
anyway.
can get messy really fast.
You can get it messy really fast, and then hopefully clean really fast. That's true. When you have a team, that's like my kids' favorite way to do their chores is to just set the timer for 2 minutes in each room and go through and do it all together. So I'm with you on that one. That's great when we can work as a team. But that's another downside, Becky, right? Because it's easy to have your house trashed in like seconds too.
2 seconds.
And then invite a couple friends over and anyway. So yes, okay. So obviously there are a lot of advantages, and I agree. One thing I really appreciated about growing up in a large family was even though it drove me crazy having to babysit and having so much responsibility, but you really get pushed in a lot of ways. Your kids get pushed, we get pushed as parents. You have to, like you said, they have to be able to be helpful. They have to, like Becky was saying this morning, her 9-year-old was helping her 7-year-old with the piano lesson, and most 9-year-olds wouldn't have that opportunity to get to be a teacher in that way either. So it is a gift in that way as well, I think. So, okay, so let's talk about how we keep ourselves functioning at our best before we get into some of our best tips and specific secrets, because obviously we're sharing some as we go here. But I think that as moms in general, we talk about this almost every episode. I don't care what the main topic is. We end up talking about self-care because I think you guys all would agree with me that that's a big issue when it comes to moms and women especially. And I think when you have a large family, it's hard to find time for yourself, and it's probably a challenge for all of us in different ways. So I wanted to know, what do you do to make that time for yourself? How do you take care of yourself, and how do you overcome the challenges that come with that and keep yourself at your best? Who wants to start?
I'll start. We did something recently this school year, so it's been several months now. We decided over the summer, bedtime used to be 8:30, and we bumped it up to 7:55. And we set our alarms on our phones to remind us, because I'm not really normally thinking of winding down at 7:55.
Right.
But putting that as the timer to start the whole routine, then the kids are actually asleep by 8:30 or 8:20. By sleep, I mean in their bedrooms with the lights out.
Yeah.
Of course, teenagers can still be working on homework in their bedrooms, but the rest of the house needs to shut down, and mom is winding down that early. And so now I can wake up at 5:30 or 6 every morning and get that exercise in that is just critical to my sanity and health.
Oh, yeah.
So that was huge change.
That's a big
30 minutes would make that big of a deal, but it did.
That's great. And then the kids are probably feeling more rested too. You're feeling more rested. Family sleep, I think, is a huge issue when it comes to self-care and family care.
Time too. We can have like secret date night or whatever it might need to be. Like every night can be date night if the kids are all in bed early enough.
Right, exactly.
That's remarkable. My routine goes on forever. Like, I remember that lasting an hour and a half.
I know.
To get everybody to sleep.
Oh, I know.
It's maddening.
It is maddening.
So, my husband would say, it's not safe for you to be out of your bed. So,
I love that. I'm using that next time.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
At like 9:05, if the kids are still awake, I'll be like, "Angry Mom's gonna come out. It's after 9 o'clock."
That's right. It's after 9. Get in bed.
8:59. Angry Mom at 9:02.
That is a great point, Becky, because we need time to wind down. I mean, it really is. It's so constant. I think in general for all moms, everybody out there listening probably is shaking their head, going, "Yeah, it's so constant. You wake up to kids, you go to bed to kids." And when you have so many, like you say, that routine at night is just like, when my first one graduated, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I should be done now. And I still have 5 more to go, Like, I'm going to have to brush teeth for forever. I'm going to have to be saying prayers and putting them in bed. And it's just, it really is a lot, and it can be overwhelming. But that's a great tip, Becky, to start the process earlier and make everybody happier and healthier. What do you say, Nancy? How do you take care of yourself?
How do I take care of myself? I've got to have, there's a couple of buckets I need to fill. Exercise. I need time to read and study and pray by myself, fill that spiritual bucket. But the ways I've done that over the years, I can't necessarily have a set time because things are always changing with a lot of kids. So sometimes it works to get up at 5:30. Other times I will be a nicer mom if I sleep.
Right. Okay.
And then I can do yoga or something during nap time. Or I will push really hard to wear them out so that I can have a good bedtime.
Yes.
Sleeping is not a forte at our house, but we're working on it.
Yeah, that's a constant battle, right? Oh.
So I guess just knowing that I need those things and looking for that pocket of time when that's going to happen.
But I love what you're saying because you prioritize it so that you make the time. Because, if we wait around till the time appears, it's never going to appear. You have to fight for it. Don't you guys agree? Yeah. Absolutely. So that's really good. And you both mentioned exercise, which of course I'm a huge fan of because my new book is coming out, 8 Keys to Mental Health Through Exercise, right? Best thing you can do, everybody. People, listen to me. All right, Stacy, you've been exercising. How's that been going?
Good. It's going great.
All right.
It does make a big difference.
You don't have to talk about that, but anyway, I'm just saying.
No, it helps a lot. It gives you, I have a lot more energy and I'm happier around my children when I make time for that.
Yeah.
For sure. Good.
What else would you add to how do you find it challenging to take care of yourself, keep yourself at your best, and how do you overcome the challenges?
It's, as you said, just prioritize each day, make a plan, and as Nancy said, every day often is different, but you look at what you have going on that day and you just have to plan the things that are most important to you.
Yeah, I love that. And then you go with what your priorities are, even if other stuff comes up that seems like it's quote unquote important to other people.
Right.
Like your kids forget their lunch every day, or I remember, wasn't it you, Jen, that was talking about like one of your children was not ready for school on time, so you were making him walk or something. I remember seeing one of them walking recently, and I was like, good for you. So, like sometimes it's tough love too.
I should have a sweatshirt that says "World's Meanest Mom"
No,
on it sometimes.
No, not at all. But you have to do that sometimes, is set the limits. Like, hey, this is your responsibility, not mine, because I have things I need to do, or you need to learn a lesson too. That's part of it.
They learn fast.
Yes.
They learn fast.
Really fast.
Yes.
That's right. I love it. I'm a fan.
One of my daughters had a hard time getting to school on time. And so I made her a little deal that you've got to get yourself in the car by this time, and if you don't, you owe me $1.
Oh.
And it came out of her allowance, and she learned really quick that she only has so much allowance. That means only so many rides. So
I love it.
Get up.
Hit him where it hurts, right? In the pocket. So Jen, what do you say? How do you prioritize your own needs above, not above, but in the midst of everybody else's needs? There's so many other needs. How do you do that?
I was thinking back to when I had more little ones.
Yeah.
And my first two are just 12 months apart. And that kicked me in the hiney. That was hard. But you had twins, Becky, so I mean,
that was very hard.
Yeah.
Number 3 came 19 months later.
Yeah, and mine too. Yeah, I had the third really close. So I get it.
Yeah, Becky's too old.
I wasn't waking up at 5:30. That
is a good point. I'm going to stop and emphasize that for all you moms listening.
You needed sleep. You were waking up in the middle of the night all the time, and I would have never dreamed that I could ever wake up at 5:30 to exercise when I was in my 20s.
No way. Absolutely. No, and that's such an important point. That goes back to what Nancy said, that at different times of life and on different days, you just make it work the way that it can work for you. And sometimes the sleep is the priority and you're just getting through the day. You're just dealing with babies. And all of us have our children in school now. So we can all talk about, we can maybe take some time during the day or do the thing. Like I can do this radio show. Well, my kids are at school right now. All our kids are at school right now. So, I want all you moms out there that have little ones and don't have the luxury yet, you will someday, of having your kids in school for several hours in a day, to remember that those times are tough. So continue. You were telling us, Jen.
Well, I was knowing my need for organization and remembering things. I decided that I really needed an hour, and I chose Sunday because that's when we were all together and I had my husband around, and I just told him, I need an hour. I need an uninterrupted hour. I need a mentally uninterrupted hour, or whatever that word is. So I couldn't just run to the bathroom and shut the door and try to get that hour because I knew they would be coming in any minute. There was nowhere to run and hide. So yes. I needed that hour, knowing in my mind that I could be free to not have to navigate anything, and that Jim would just be in charge of them for that hour. Mm-hmm. Then I could go to my room and I could plot out. I have to do that. I have to say what's coming. So it was good on Sunday because then I could do the week and say this, this person needs this and this and this on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, la la la. I could do my schedule. I could do a grocery list. I could just wrap my head around being a mother for that hour and know that I had that whole hour to my brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without all the interruptions. So
absolutely.
That saved my life when I had a lot of little ones.
Yeah.
And I just add to that, when I had little ones, I had a standard day where I traded with my sister for 3 hours. And I would take her kids for 3 hours. And then on another day, she would take my kids who were not old enough to be in school. And, to be free and go do whatever I wanted, that was a huge, huge strength to being able to handle everybody when they're home.
That's great. I so am with you guys. I think for me, alone time is one of my main keys to staying sane and healthy, is having, like you say, the mental break. Because, you can be hiding in your closet or in the bathroom, but if they're banging on the door, even sometimes when my husband's in charge, quote unquote, and I'm taking a nap and he's locked the door and put a sign on there like, do not go into mom's room or dad's gonna whatever, and then they're out there, I can hear them like fighting about it or yelling at each other, and it's just like, okay, this is not relaxing at all. So I suggest a very loud fan that you just turn on in your room so you don't hear anybody or anything, and that can help you sleep at night too. So earplugs are a gift.
Fan and earplugs have saved my life.
And
I'm all about it.
Can I just put in a plug for date night?
Yes.
Sometime during the week.
Every week.
You have got to find money in the budget for a babysitter or trade with somebody or something. You have got to have that time every week.
Yeah, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. It's absolutely a commandment.
You just call it date night. It's going to be every single weekend, and then when you need a midweek break, you call it secret date night. Yeah.
And kids get used to it. If you do it all the time, they know, and they don't mess with that Friday night. Honestly, like, my kids just know, oh, tonight's Friday. We don't have to say. We walk out the door, they're like, oh, you're going on date night, because they know every Friday Mom and Dad go on their date night.
Yeah,
even if we don't go very far,
Yeah.
Sometimes we just go to a friend's or do something, but we leave that house every Friday night together. So
we do too.
And when you're talking about, having younger kids or babies, then it's not as easy to leave. Of course you can hire a babysitter, but not everybody can do that, or you can't do that as often maybe when you're younger. Like Nancy said, trading with other couples is a great way to go. Mm-hmm. Getting family members involved, letting grandparents have time with the kids. That's great too.
There's a solution.
There's a solution.
If you don't know your neighbors and you have young kids, then that's the time to go really meet them, honestly. And some are older neighbors, and they would love to have some little kids around once in a while. So go knocking on doors and meet all your neighbors. Peruse to see how we can benefit each other.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so you guys have hit on, to me, some of the major points. We need to take care of our sleep. We need to exercise and take care of our bodies, and that helps our mental health as well. We need to take care of our relationships, especially with our spouse. It's the way I see it is that if I don't take care of myself first, I'm never going to get to taking care of my relationship with my husband. And if we don't take care of our relationship, we're not going to be good for our kids. So I have to be well to want to, to be a good partner for him and for us to work together. He has to be well. And then we have to be strong for the kids. And the way I see it is the kids are going to get their needs met no matter what. So you don't have to put them at the top of the list. They're going to make their needs known, and we can, say we really need to prioritize taking care of ourselves, taking care of our relationship. And I think that's going to keep us healthy and strong for everybody listening. So, all right, so we kind of have transitioned into some of our tips. Now, I want to share just some of your best secrets that have helped you over the years, because already you guys have shared so many just great nuggets of, here's what you can do, try this, here's my advice. And I know that when I was a younger mom, I would have loved to have just been able to sit and listen to all of you tell me your advice, because, we have no clue what we're doing when we're first starting out. And hopefully we learn a thing or two along the way. So I wanted to start with you, Nancy, because I know one thing that you really taught me or helped me to understand was how to set up a good system in my home, and especially like the financial system with the kids, and how to teach them responsibility, how to teach them how to, earn their own money, pay for their own things, do their own laundry, participate in chores. I mean, I have to say, if there's one thing that I think saves a large family, and I think families of all sizes can benefit, it has to be some kind of structure and order.
Right.
You have to have a system for things. You have to know how things work.
Right.
And so tell us a little bit about what you've learned over the years in those areas, and what you'd like to share with the moms listening.
One of the biggest things that helped us sidestep a lot of drama when the girls and boys got to be teenagers was giving them lots of opportunity young to learn how to earn and manage their own money. Mm-hmm. And it started out, I drew a lot of ideas from Teaching Your Children Values by the Ayers, kind of older generation book, but
so good, though.
I read all those too.
Great, all the Ayer books. EYRE. It's a couple, Richard and Linda Ayer. They have a million books. They're so good. Yes, those were the books you gave me. That was
really great. Probably the idea I like the best from them is summer goals.
Yeah,
and what we do with that is during the summertime as a survival strategy for me mostly, but the kids have to set summer goals in different areas like personal, financial, scholastic, all these different areas, and then they meet their goals right before school starts. They get a lump sum of money, and that's what they use for school clothes money. Mm-hmm. And what's really hard is you don't really have a say in how they spend that. And, if they want to spend it all on a fancy pair of new shoes, and then they have holes in their pants all year, that's okay. Yeah. Then they know that they really want a pair of pants for Christmas. And it just kind of seems to create a little check and balance between what needs and wants you have.
Yes.
So that was really good. And then it completely sidestepped all the drama in the store. If you're taking a teenage girl to buy a new outfit, I mean, I've never been to the store with an eye roll with a teenage daughter, which sounds unheard of, but no, this is their money. You go figure it out.
Yes.
And so that was really a positive experience.
I love it.
At the end, it's a little hard there as you get to the end of the summer, but always worth it in the end.
I love it. And yes, you taught me that as well. We've been doing that in our family. It's such a great idea. So I hope everybody's listening, because this is great. You can even, you can do this with toddlers even, teach them, give them little things to work on and let them earn beads to get a prize or something.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Right? Just kind of like tweak it for your kids, however old they are. And then the other thing that Nancy's pointing to is you're not just teaching them, you're not just giving them money, and you're not, because I always struggle with that. Like, how do you do allowance and make it fair? And when one kid's going to work harder than another kid, how does that work? And one thing that Nancy taught me through the books from the Ayers as well is that you set up your system so that they can earn allowance, but it's not based on them doing their chores or not. They have to do the chores. But it's based on how responsible they are with reporting what they've done and, telling you and kind of clocking in and getting their hours and earning their money that way. So that's been really helpful as a tip to go along with it, to help your kids understand that, that's how the real world works. You have to be responsible and show up and do your job. And if you don't clock in and out, you don't get paid. So, that's kind of the same kind of idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Becky, what do you say? What's one of your secrets to parenting, or what's one tip that you would want to share with moms to help them out?
When you have this many kids, you do have to have a lot of structure. You do. You have to have a really working chore chart. Yeah. Sometimes we assign days. When the kids were little, the person whose day it was got to pick where they sat in the car. Little things like that. That when you have 2 kids, that's not an issue. But when you've got 5 youngest kids, they're going to argue about who gets this seat in the car and those types of things. And the person whose day it was, they got to pick where they sit in the car. That was their day to say family prayer, and they said all the prayers that day. So we just. Yeah, you have to have some structure that way.
I love that.
And I loved everything that Nancy had to say about finances. We do a lot of those types of things too.
Yeah.
We do. And the children have to do their own laundry when they hit 12 and those types of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting them involved and teaching them how to work at a young age is really important. And teaching them how to be responsible, not just expecting it's going to happen miraculously. That's good advice for all parents.
We live in this skewed world of everything's going to be ready for me and prepped for me, and we have this false sense of it really does take time to create dinner and be prepared for school assignments, and I think our busy-paced world kind of loses track of that.
That's a big one. Yeah. It's hard to fit everything in, and that's where the priorities come back in. Everybody's too busy. It is a fast world. So I think that the more that we focus on our role as a teacher, as being mothers, that we really are just teaching our children and looking for that opportunity to teach in everything, I think that always helps as well. So, okay. So what do you say, Jen? What's one of your secrets or tips or strategies?
What kind of tip?
Anything that you think would help other moms.
I love the summer goals, Nancy. That was the most greatest thing. We've been doing that for years. Love that.
Yeah.
We also have the kid of the day. So Brent's always Monday. He does. Yeah, he sits. Exactly. The car is always an issue.
Yes.
I get the seat. No, I didn't know you did. So Monday's Brent, Tuesday's Tess. It's just Wednesday's Mason, and it just.
I like that. The kid of the day.
The kid of the day, and then everything is there, and they get to choose whenever there's a choice, and then they always get. Yeah, it works out beautifully.
That's great.
And we found with chores, this is good for our family. I don't know if it'll be good for others, but. We were rotating. We've done, of course, you've probably all done a bunch of different chore things as when your kids get older and older, and just to keep a variety so it doesn't get old. Seems like, but the one we landed on that we've kept the longest is actually having chores for a month, because it seems like it took, 2 or 3 days. It maybe say it was a weekly thing. This week kid had the kitchen or kid vacuumed or whatever, and it took 2 or 3 days for them to trade. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be vacuuming, and then by the time they actually got to the end of the week, they had just kind of gotten into it, and then they had to remember the next week, oh, now I got to do this. And so we did it for a month, and we still do that. We trade every month, and one child has kitchen, one child has and we just kind of divided up however many kids we had to different areas of our home.
Yeah.
That's a great
and that way they got really proficient. They didn't have to keep remembering every day because it got to be more habitual. And it seemed like they fine-tuned those little chores in that month rather than just a shorter time. I think they have to be a little older to do that. It's harder, a little older, meaning 8, or something. But I thought that worked out really well for our family.
Plus it gives them time to learn what they're doing. And
that's what I mean. They really get good.
And,
and they're not trying to remember what's their chore this week. I mean, that's me. I would forget.
Yeah.
If that were me. Yeah. And so, lengthening. Yeah. So that was a good one.
I love that. We also do the zones, like
zones.
We call them our zones, and so which I love because it teaches the kids that they're responsible for a certain part of the house, And I always tell them you're not allowed to move stuff from one zone into somebody else's zone, so they have to go back in the room where they, because then they start to realize, well, hey, you put his stuff in my zone, that's not fair. Or someone's complaining, well, so-and-so left their stuff in my zone, why don't they have to clean it? Well, you're responsible for this area, and they're cleaning up your stuff in the other area. So it kind of, I think it helps them to start to realize, oh yeah, maybe if I don't leave my stuff out, they won't leave their stuff out, or, we can help each other out. And we keep it for several months. And I actually keep it until the kids stop doing their chores very well, and then I switch it around. Because they start to get, lazy about it, so then I start to switch it around, all right, we're getting all new zones again, you got this, we're doing this. And then we switch them all around to make it my life easier. And one of our best rules is we actually had our Hibbert family rules, and we actually posted them on the fridge. Actually, they're called the Hibbert family laws. And so we actually had a family night where and I know we all do this too. Every Monday we have family night and get together. And on one of those nights we and have a lesson, and we talked about the laws that we wanted to have. So we had all the kids kind of brainstorm the things that were important to them, like Jen said earlier. And then we wrote a big list on there, and then we came up with just the main categories, how we need to treat each other and how we need to treat our home, and we need to respect not only our parents, we need to respect one another, we need to respect our things in our home, these kinds of things. And then our last one, which my husband added, which I loved, was if you make mom and dad's life easier, they'll make your life more fun. So basically, he's all about whatever makes our life easier is good. Mm-hmm. And they all want to have fun, so that's a good rule. And I will say also, just one quick discipline tip that I love is that if you make the discipline benefit you as parents, that is always a benefit, yes. Right?
That's a great idea. If you're disciplining a child, you don't want to create more work for yourself.
Right. So sometimes, even if grounding might work or something for that child, it's I don't really want them to be home all weekend complaining that they're bored. So maybe my favorite is always babysitting other kids or chores for me, clean something for me, right?
Oh,
so
yeah, that took me way too many years to figure out. I don't know why I sabotaged my life for so many years. That is a brilliant idea. It is true.
Make it better for you. Whatever works for you, that's what's going to happen. So there you go. Sometimes I say to my kids, sorry, but I really need the kitchen clean, or sorry, but I need a nap, so you're babysitting, so even if they don't want it. Even if they don't want it, that's even better. If they don't want to do it, that's even better. All right, Stacy, what's one of your best tips?
Probably one of my favorite tips is putting the house to bed. So at nighttime, when we do our, prayers and scripture reading, we will take 15 to 20 minutes. We'll set the timer, and we'll turn the music up loud, and I'll start the vacuum cleaner, and everybody has to quickly pick up their stuff or sweep. I'll have someone go pick up the bathroom, wipe it down, and we just quickly put the house to bed so the next morning when we wake up it's not instant chaos. And
I love that. So that's kind of working all together and just getting
just
everything
work
done
together and do a quick job.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that.
Outside of just the normal jobs. Because you know how quickly things get messed up again.
Right, because it'll be messy again in no time flat. But that's good. Putting the house to bed. I love that. That is wonderful. All right, so let me ask you guys this as we get near the end of our little show here. I'm going to kind of ask this in a few different ways, so you can answer it however you like. But kind of to wrap us up, what do you wish you would have known when you were just starting out as a mom that you feel like you know now? And or what would you most want to tell other moms or about being a mom or about parenting or motherhood? Or in what ways has being a mom of many kids either forced or helped you to grow in your own life? So you can answer one or any mix of those questions. This will be our final words of wisdom. What was that?
I said, don't start with me.
Don't start with you. Okay. Anybody have a formulated? Becky's ready. All right, go, Becky.
Here's what I wish I would have known. That I was going to love this. I did not love it when they were little. I was totally overwhelmed, and I had no vision. If I could go back and talk to that 23-year-old lady who had twins, that young girl who didn't know what she was doing, I was going to say, you are going to get good at this. You are going to love this. And first of all, it is going to be about 1,000 times harder than you think it's going to be, or than you think you can even survive. Yeah. But then it's going to be endlessly better than you realize. It's going to be so amazing. Every great word you can think of, it's going to be amazing to have these people that you like, that you help to create. They're who they are. So
I love that. And Becky, see again, Becky's like so positive and happy all the time. But I love that you mentioned, you're so honest too, about that you haven't always felt like, it's not like it's always been this easy, natural, like, oh, I've loved every minute. Wait, what? I missed that. Sorry.
I was going to say, you think I'm happy and joyful and that I've always been this way, but I had to work hard.
I know you did, but you were like this in high school too. But I get it. I mean, like you did have to, especially like you had postpartum depression. You've been honest about that. And yes. Yeah. And of course you had a lot, you started off with a bang with 2 right there at the get-go. So
right on his
so I really appreciate that, because I know all the moms listening, I know there are so many out there right now that are thinking, how can you guys talk about it? Like, this is so great. This is so hard. And I used to always say, I love being a mom. Like, I love that relationship with my baby, but I hate the job, and for a lot of years, it was like I just hated the cleaning and the cooking and the not sleeping and the constantness of it. But I love that you're saying that, if we work at it, you can overcome all of our personal shortcomings and all of the things that are really, really hard in our family life as well, and find the joy on the other side.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun ride.
Love it. Thank you. Okay, who's next? Stacy.
I gotta go pick up kids.
Oh, okay.
Well, you want to go? Go ahead.
I'll be really quick.
Okay.
Just the most important thing is to, just like we said in the beginning, but to love our children, to work at loving them, even when they're not exactly where we think that they should be, to love them where they're at, and to build and work on the relationship.
Oh, I love that. Love them where they're at and work on the relationship. We all need that with all of our relationships, especially with our kids. Jen, what do you want to share?
I would say, as a mom, don't be afraid to be your real self and to say it's hard when it is, and don't try to act like it's not. You can say it with a smile on your face and say, I just love being around moms that are real.
Yeah.
And they don't whine all the time, but when it's something hard, they'll just say, I don't do that, or that's really hard for me. And I love that. When people can just be real about motherhood.
Yeah.
And some of the issues. And one thing is huge, too, that I learned, is that all the goofy stages that your kids can go through, you don't know that they're a stage, but everything's a stage. Almost everything they grow out of, they don't do anymore. I don't know if you're, maybe I'm the only one that had goofy kids, but no. They did some weird thing, and I could never see the end of it. Like, this is going to be when they're 30 and they're going to not get married because of this annoying habit or this thing. But all goofiness melts away eventually, I feel like. And I don't sweat all that stuff, Don't spend time worrying about their goofy little, I mean?
Little things that are bugging you right now, or that are causing trouble.
I think I'm the only one that has.
No.
And I don't mean my kids are goofy. I just mean those funny little phases. They are phases, and every one of them really has been a phase.
Yeah.
So you just don't even have to worry about it.
And that could even be moodiness or just
like
all their struggles.
Like,
this too shall pass.
You've been able to maintain a lot of perspective. Like, you're not worried about your 12-year-old not being able to get married one day. You're having perspective. Yeah. Like, he's just 12. He's going to go through this.
Right. But it's hard sometimes when some things you're going, are they going to stop doing that? And you don't want to call it out all the time. And
this person is really annoying. Yeah.
Especially hormonal years. I don't know. All of my boys go around the dark side, and then the girls were getting there. But I know, Nancy, you've raised a whole lot of girls, and Becky, well, all of you guys have raised girls more than I have. But hormones too, right? That's a whole other issue. Like,
don't take things so personal. Yeah.
There's a lot of other reasons for why they're doing what they're doing, and one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever heard, before I let Nancy wrap us up, you can go, is that the fruit of motherhood isn't how our kids turn out; it's how we turn out. Right? So motherhood to me is the best soil for planting ourselves and growing, as I like to say. It really is the thing that makes us grow the most, right? Forces us sometimes.
You realize you cannot control anyone but yourself.
Yes, exactly. All right, so Nancy, why don't you wrap us up here?
I hope this fits in. As I've thought about what I think makes me a successful mom, I think about that their ability to learn, to continue to learn, and recognizing that things don't have to be a certain way for me to be good enough and acceptable. They know that they can keep trying and learning, and life is about how fun it is to keep learning and growing. And all of that fosters a great self-esteem instead of just, well, I really wasn't a smart kid, so I'm never going to be a smart kid. So here we are. I don't know.
But they're enough.
But that they are enough, and to like them as a person, because they are so fun. Yes. They're just beautiful.
I love that. And sometimes they might not feel very likable, but we like them anyway and love them through it, right?
Great.
Thank you so much, everybody. I feel like we could talk for hours. We have so much wisdom here, and I hope everybody listening, I hope you took at least one little nugget with you that's going to help you become, the mom that you want to be, and to maybe change one thing, or maybe just give you a little bit of different perspective on one thing in your life that might help you. And, we shared a lot of books today for the Simple Solutions. We didn't really talk too much about it, but we talked about a lot of our favorite books. And I just wanted to throw in there, I also love the book, How to Have a New Kid by Friday. That's a great book for parenting. Did anybody else want to just throw one in there that's one of your
my
favorites?
very favorite is Christ-Like Parenting by Dr. Glenn Latham.
All right, Christ-Like Parenting. That's a great one to help us all be more loving with our families.
I'm a big fan of Dr. Latham's too, and I would have said Positive Parenting by Dr. Glenn Latham. And then my other classic favorite is How to Talk So Kids Will Listen, and How to Listen So Kids Will Talk.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, that's great.
My kids are going to laugh. Raising a Spirited Child.
Ah, yes.
I borrowed that book from Nancy.
I have several.
And I love that. See, look how you're saying a spirited child instead of a difficult child, right? I love that. All right. So you guys can go check out some of those books that might help you in your journey. And again, thank you to Becky Bagley, Nancy McGuire, Stacy Moore, and Jen Gilliland for spending this time with us here and sharing your insights on motherhood. And I hope that everybody out there, I hope you guys will visit my website for more information and more help on any of these things that we talked about today. And I hope that you'll continue to choose to grow through motherhood instead of just going through it, because as we know, as we proved today, it's a lot more fun to grow through it and to do it together as we do each week here on Motherhood Radio. Bye-bye, everybody.